managing your partnerships in spreadsheets?
You gotta get the setup back with the intro music and all of that. But you know, I've been a little bit occupied. What's the deal, boy? Hey, boy, I was just hearing something about some type of regional conference. I think it was something that y'all told me about before that Divine Prince was supposed to be hosting the next one. Free cipher a lot. All right, I'm gonna check that email. Yeah, somebody was asking me about it, and I was fairly sure that that's what it was. Do. Divine understanding was the deal. International conference. Okay, so international question, right? Does that mean, because I know that there's regions that include different countries now, right? So does that mean international as in the regions that's also in other countries is coming, or is it international and other nations is going to be there? So it looks like you're saying the first one is all the regions from around the world. And just for the people, right? Do we know? I know we know how many regions it is, right? How many regions is it, and how many countries does that include? Halftime was the science, right? 11 regions, because the last two is fairly new, right? King Math. So with 10 10 is uh, Mexico and South America, and 11 is what's 11? Dark Mile. Any thoughts on King Saint? I mean, we went through, any questions? Because we already manifested our thoughts. You know, if you got a question, we can go into that. But generally speaking, today, uh, it's this is a good start right here, because this right here is about progress. At least that I seen from my point of view there. I will say this. I don't know if you saw the last little installment or whatever he's doing there, but my name was used. I'm not affiliated with that. I would like to reflect that, I didn't appreciate my name even being in that excerpt. But leading right into what I was saying about the progress, though, is that it could be, sometimes you have confirmation bias, right? Meaning that you already, you gotta right. 10 is Mexico. What's 11? The regions, right? Sometimes you have confirmation bias, meaning that, or it's kind of, things could be anecdotal, because it's your 11. Oh, so 10 is Mexico, 11 is South America, but isn't the Azores, I think is included now too. But like I said, you travel in certain circles, and so in the circles that you in, things could be happening, but that don't mean that it's universal. You know what I'm saying? But I would say this, that look, in the circles that I travel in, right, programmed by society, actually, I haven't been touching the keys like I need to, but it's really just, I haven't had the equipment, I got to get everything hooked up. But you know what I decided though? I'm gonna get this machine. You know what I'm saying? I think it's like 350. I ain't sure, but it's like, it enables me to broadcast on different platforms. You know what I'm saying? Have guests come on, different cameras and all of that. And it's just, I don't need it, but it's I think for the convenience. Like now I gotta have all this. That's something that I can have, hooked up and ready to go, like I need it. So. I think I'm gonna go ahead and get that. Yeah, I think the Azores is included. The brother from because I met the brothers from Mexico, but there's a brother, I'm pretty sure he's in South America. He came to the school, and he was telling me about the teaching he was doing, and I recall him saying that they got people in the Azores now. You gotta ask Infinite Mind. He's responsible for a lot of that. At least he's the first person I've seen going down there to Mexico and teaching. And then it started growing from that cipher. That's what I'm saying, progress. But like I was saying though, that in at least in the circles that I travel in, I've been seeing a lot of building. As opposed to you know, especially on the internet, a lot of times, you know, whenever you see brothers, uh, you know, conversing or dialoguing or whatever it is on the internet, right? Or, you know, even in person, it's a lot of complaining going on. You know, a lot of talking about what everybody else is doing, you know, but just, uh, you know, various things, uh, when I'm on, you say you have to ask King Asiatic. Which King Asiatic is that? You know, when you say King Asiatic, you know, you know where my mind goes to. My King Asiatic that I grew up with. You know, but you know, just the sound of the language. You know, to me that's progress because, you know, a lot of times you was just hearing, like I said, about, you know, what should be and not what is. See, that's the difference between, that's why, you know, me personally, I wouldn't even attempt to live out 120. See, I live out supreme mathematics, man. You know what I'm saying? And express myself through supreme alphabet. You see, because a lot of things in 120, it's like, yeah, that's what the paper said. But real life, you know, is going to be more complex. Okay, King Asiatic is in Colombia. That's more than likely the brother that I'm talking about that came up here. Like now that you said that, I think that's him. Uh, but yeah, you know, on the paper, you know, you got a lot of things, right? You know, you know, are there any guys other than righteous? The papers say a certain thing. Cali King Asiatic live in Islam. You see, I look. Let's leave that alone right now. But getting back to, you know, what I was saying about, uh, you know, that's the magnetic. Like that's the attracting power. See the attracting power. See the that's what I'm saying. See me that I look at the building. That's what's attractive for me. See, I'm not attracted to unlike shit. I'm attracted to other things that's righteous like me. You see what I'm saying? And those is the people that you want to draw up. See, you got to be aware of that. See, like them people from the Wu Tang era, that's their problem. Is that's what they was attracted to. See, but when people hear us using the language, right, and peace and harmony, and they see the love, peace, and happiness, that should be the attracting power. When people see that, you know, look, uh, you know, some dudes from my block that, you know, I know to be tough guys. You know, some dudes came around here that wasn't from our block, and yeah, they started talking, and you know, yeah, it wasn't no they was just talking, they was building. You know, I didn't know that term, but I'm saying that that's the kind of thing that's that has the attracting power. Anybody could destroy it. You say the life giver and the life taker. Look, one is much easier than the other. One is much easier than the other. See, anybody can take life. Not everybody can give life, especially on every level. You know what I'm saying? You might can make a baby, but that don't necessarily mean you could give life on every level. And see, when people see that life being manifested, that's what draws people up, man. You know, people want to tell all these stories of all this negative stuff that happened. You know, what happened when people didn't know their degrees. But see, the days when people did know their degrees, and that was a lot of days. That was the majority of days. I mean, yeah, you know, we young, we just getting the knowledge. There's some people that got the knowledge yesterday. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we got to get on point. You know what I'm saying? But look, most times we knew our lessons, man. And when the people observe that you know they going to school with us, so they know, look, we from all different neighborhoods, but we can harmonize. It must be something about that thing that they talking. See, sometimes people are just, they not hearing everything that you say. You see, it'll be something that you build on that'll be the magnetic. And they'll say, yo, why you said this though? The guy agreed, you know, look, I remember a brother that he was with some dudes. And we was having a cipher, right? And the dudes left him, right? He was like, nah, I'm gonna maintain right here, right? So then when the cipher was over, that he just had that question. That, yo, why y'all was saying y'all God though? The guy ain't never, you know, he had never heard nobody saying that. He just wanted to ask just that one question. And he ended up getting the knowledge. You understand what I'm saying? We here to build the people up. We're not here to break the people down. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, look, you know, demolition equipment and construction equipment, you know, you got some things that cross, but it's not the same. You don't do the same thing with a wrecking ball that you do with a crane. So just the science of that, you know, that's you know, that's encouraging. You know what I'm saying? You know, you see you know, P Almighty and Y Supreme, they got their class. That's what I'm saying. Like the things that brothers is paying attention to now, you know, that's progress. That's moving in the right direction. You know. But you know, I you know, sometimes, you know, I understand the religious people. Sometimes I just want everything to just be good. Like, you know, could you just speak and just speak positive, you know, like, but look, we not in the middle. We here in the concrete jungles of America, right? Where it's not all daisies and tulips, right? So, you know, when you deal with progress, you also got to deal with, you know, the proof being in the pudding. And you can apply force and then not have no displacement. That's work, right? The formula for work done is force times displacement. How much energy you applied, right, and the distance that you move from there to there. So, you gotta analyze, what the things that's been happening. So, because ultimately, look, like I said, it's a lot of building going on, right? It's a little bit difficult to say that because brothers is a little bit older, right? And the world is different, right? But see, the building that's going on right now, we building with each other. We gotta take it to the streets, not maybe the physical streets because there ain't even nobody out there to build with. But I'm saying we gotta deal with the 5% part, which is teaching those who don't know. So one of the things that I wanted to kind of look at is something that arose in the last, since the internet. I've been seeing it, right? The teachable moment. There's a lot of things that have happened, right? And people is like, yo, let's not look at it negatively, right? Let's look at it as a teachable moment, right? But here's the question. Is the teachable moment, right? Is that a moment for the teacher or for the student? Because see, I see all the people saying that, they're going to use this moment to teach. But where's all the people that they teaching? Sometimes, we gotta see because, that's part of, look, and whether you got your math or not, it's that refinement is a part of civilization, right? That's a part of you refining, how to get your points across. This live stream right here, right? People tune in, it's a certain people with a certain mindset, but when you're going out there amongst the people, everybody don't speak our language. Everybody don't have the time, everybody don't have the patience. So you got to be able to, you got to manifest wisdom. And, manifesting wisdom, that means making your words count. So at the end of the day, look, that's a question. Let's make that a question, right? How do y'all see the grand total, right, of all these teachable moments? Have these teachable moments been an excuse for the teacher to let shit slide? Or have there really been people being taught? Has there really been people being taught as a result of these teachable moments? Phil G said, I say it's a moment for both. It's our duty to teach, but it's the listener's duty to pick up the jewel. Right, but I'm saying, how's that played out? Like, that's what I'm saying. The teachable moment, what you manifested is the teachable moment on paper. Right? But in all actuality, how has it played out? I'm talking about the teachable moments, Lord Jamal talking crazy, Jay-Z wearing the flag, all these various things. Because my point of view has definitely been that it's been a it's been a platform for the teacher, right, to not address the what has happened. Because see, sometimes look, just because something is a teachable moment, right, that doesn't mean sometimes it's through the penalty that you learn. You know what I'm saying? For some people, period, it's through penalties that they learn. Some people don't listen like that. We all know people like that. If you're from the inner city, you know people like that, that they never learn until multiple penalties. So halftime says both. West Coast says, I think a teachable moment can be beneficial even outside of the relationship of the teacher and student. For example, the West don't teach that at a law school. A Mecca video taught me certain things. All right. Maybe this is my problem, right? No, look, you just hit it, right? I don't see that as a teachable moment. Like, not in the way that other people will be manifesting. Like, see, for the individual, that's astute, right? Look, Jay said we are always teachable. A teachable moment is those who need to be taught at the time God is present. Right now, look, for the astute person, every second of the day is they learning. Knowledge is infinite, right? So every second of the day, people is observing things, right? It's nothing new under the sun, but the way these things is activated, the way combinations of things come together. It's nothing new, but there's unique things that happen. Right? There's things that we haven't been exposed to, there's points of view. All of these various things, right, that to the astute person. But I'm saying that wasn't no teachable moment, right? That wasn't no teachable moment in the form of, he said, well, Bourne was saying things that shouldn't have said and doing things he shouldn't be. He said, gods came together to make it right and exact. His response was where he went wrong. You got some points there. But see, I think there's some separation here, right? At least in how I consider it, right? In how I consider it, right, is that, see, in the teachable moment, a lot of times what I see is that the right thing don't happen. You know what I mean? So let's say somebody's wearing the flag and they're not qualified to wear the flag, right? Now, what you're talking about is a situation where we make knowledge born, right? Now, this person is not with us. They're not qualified to wear the flag. And what they manifesting has nothing to do with our teachings. Now, there's people that can learn from that and say, whoa, yeah, that must be serious, right? But how I've seen the teachable moment go is that, okay, we don't say nothing to that person, or we don't say nothing about that person doing that. We just pretend that now, because they've worn the flag, they've gotten the flag all this extra attention, so we can use that as a teachable moment to, give people the knowledge. That's what I've seen. Maybe this is what it is on paper. Maybe this is what it is on paper, but I'm just saying that from how I've seen it in practice, it wouldn't include, because look, that was a lot of the response. See, a lot of the response was that I wasted a teachable moment, right? And it was people was like, I'm turning back the clock to the Stone Ages or something. See, that's what I'm saying. To the astute person, to those that wasn't astute, they looked at that and saw something different. See, it's like, the way I've seen the teachable moment play out, that wouldn't have happened, right? And the only thing that would have happened was that second video. Remember the video when we was in the back of the school? See, that would have been the only video that happened if the teachable moment had played out how everybody else was saying. Listen, you'd be surprised at the people that said that was a bad look. You'd be surprised. See, I think it could be beneficial outside of the teacher-student. Yeah, but I just don't. I'm trying to bridge the gap, right? Between, because what you're saying, look, that's yeah, right? One of my favorite things back in the days, right, used to be to see people get bombed. Or to see this was my favorite thing. That was maybe second or third, right? My favorite thing was to see two brothers, right, that had, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, like brothers that, they drop signs, right? To see these brothers disagree on a topic. Like, to see these brothers start out from different perspectives on a topic, right? And then they start building, and they start dropping signs now. Like, this is, so yeah, I'm on the side where I might not even recall the topic that they, first was started, but it's all the sciences that they came out. Like, yeah, what about this degree? Because we know that mean, and the research on that and all, you like, whoa. You wish you had a pen and paper. So I understand that concept, but I'm just saying that well, let's say this, right? I don't like the kind of teachable moment right, that doesn't include justice. And I don't mean, you know, having to attack nobody verbally, physically, or none of that, but you know, making knowledge born. Yeah, see, it is in terms of reward or penalty. You know what I'm saying? And it is both. Uh, the penalty is kind of not, it's not there. Like your rewards is peace and happiness in regards to destruction of the devil, right? Okay, what's the penalty? What's the penalty if you don't take the devil off your planet? Like at the end of the day, that kind of sums up what I'm saying. That just for me as an individual, I'm not saying this is national policy, but this is just the kind of person I am, right? If you ain't take off the devil off your planet, then you're not riding my back into the hereafter. You're not riding my back to peace and happiness. That's what I'm saying. What's the like? We all knew our degrees. You didn't know your degree. See, I was that was just person that I am. That I'm gonna point that out. Because now, whatever we doing, because you gotta remember that too, and that's why it's penalty or rewards, right? Is that look, our equality is supreme. Like back in the days, you wasn't hungry around the guys. You wasn't, you know what I'm saying? See now, Phil G, you hit someone in the head, right? See, in order for the teachable moment to work for the student got to accept that they fucked up. See, when they accept that they fucked up, right? And then now positive elevation can correct errors, right? Now we can just use it as a teachable moment. See, you didn't know. You didn't know, and you realized that, yeah, you fucked that up. And so now we can just have a teachable moment. I don't have to tell you fucked that up. I can just show you the right way how to do it. But you hit it on the head. But that's not what happens, G. Phil G, how often does that happen? Anywhere. Look, in your corporate life, when you how often does that happen? In the corporate world, that's never gonna happen. Just your best, the best thing is that person who ever fucked up, that should be having a teachable moment, is not your boss. You see, instead of admitting that they fucked up, they rather fire you and blame it on you. this saying right here, I've always, said a wise man once said, the only thing I know is that I know nothing at all. We got that saying, right? People got that saying, you know, where they say a wise man can play the part of a fool, right? But see me, I always looked at it as, no, that's wise. Like, I'm not playing the part of a fool. I only deal with foolish people. Because if you think I'm a fool, you clearly a fool. You're foolish beyond measure if you think I'm a fool. So, I don't really play the part of a fool. I deal with foolish people, right, that's dumb enough to believe something like that. But I prefer to, just always play the part of a wise man. Just me as an individual. I'm not. Divine understanding said in corporate, that teachable moment usually comes with some paperwork, verbal, written, or firing. That's what I'm saying. But I haven't seen all these various the various waves of people. I'm saying, what's the various waves of people? Phil G said, quote, is supposed to keep everyone in a place that is not above correction. Yeah, I mean, that's a noble cause. The bar said, in Yoruba culture, the wise are present to direct all the fools. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wish I knew how to say that. I wish I knew how to say that in Yoruba. Because I would say that to people all the time. See, that's the type of thing that you say, right? And then the person don't even know what you. You just, when somebody do something stupid, you say that in Yoruba. Which brings us to another point. It's like a mini point. This is like a mini point right here. But my track record of being right has been impeccable over the last couple of years. If I do say so myself, just the amount of times that the way things have played out, right? And see, like I was telling people earlier, right? How you said, Agbari Lo Gamugu. I gotta practice it. I gotta practice that and get that down. I might just say the first word. That's what I might start calling people. Agbari Mugu. Just when somebody do something stupid, I'm gonna just say Agbari Mugu. that sounds catchy. I like that. But yeah, I was telling some people earlier, right, that look, you know how you might be, like you say you driving in a car, right? You said without teachable moments when you know in advance that this particular person will not listen to you because it's you. You said, what about teachable moments when you know in advance that this particular person will not listen to you because it's you. Yeah, it ain't no good. I got people like that. I block them out. Look, uh, bingo. King Math just hit it on the head, right? Look, you got people that, look, I was talking about this situation earlier too, right? I've had situations where, let's say somebody comes up to the brothers, they like, yo, look, I wanna do something at the school, whatever it is, I wanna add on, some way, I wanna do something with the youth or whatever it is, right? And a lot of times what'll happen is they'll tell the person, yo, talk to Darkim about that. Right? Now the person, they saying that, look, Dar's up there, he know where everything is, how things work, you know what I'm saying, what's the schedule and everything, you know what I'm saying, the guy will hook you up. But see, in some people's minds, right, you gotta ask Darkim for permission. And see, some people can't. Some people can't. That's what's the word? That's you can't. That's, they not about to do that. You know what I'm saying? And so, you got people that, I would go as far as to say, they don't like me because, they can't learn from me. Look, if it was God Supreme, you know what I'm saying, I was doing the same thing I was doing, it would be different for them. But look, those is the kind of people that I'm talking about that, look, over the time, that was a good question you had there, so I had to stop what I was saying. But, how you say you driving in a car, right? And you get to the intersection where you know that this is the street, right? But you're not that familiar with the area, so you don't know if it's left or right, right? You don't know if you should make a left or a right at this intersection, right? And then let's suppose you decide, all right, I'm gonna turn right, and then when you turn right, you like, I think it's right, right? So when you go right and then you turn out to be right, then it's more like a relief, right? You're like, oh man, yeah, good thing I made that right decision. You know what I mean? But it's different if you drive it in the same car, right? You come to the same intersection, but you know exactly which way you should go, right? You know you should go right. But you got somebody in the passenger seat that won't shut the fuck up about it's the other way. See, now, when you pull up at the right spot, right, you gotta give them that look. you gotta give them that look. And see, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at right now with a lot of people. Where see, I got people that see them, I just give them that look. What you said? You said like the canceling out of pork. Majority of people I know bring up the times before that part of self was let go, still trying to offer bacon, knowing you ain't knowing that, trying to be funny. See, like how I said, look, it's people that don't like me, right? Look, there's a positive side to that too, right? It's that, I really don't give a fuck. You understand what I'm saying? Halftime said, I'm saying sometimes you can't take the devil off your planet. You just gotta put him on the worst part. All right, hold on. I'm gonna come back to that. Clarify what you're saying, cause I ain't sure what you're saying right there. You know, I'm gonna tell you. See, for me, I just stopped talking to them people. You know, like, look, I remember one time. This was like some TV shit, right? My grandmother calls me, right? She's like, yo, look, we all gonna be getting together, you know, with whatever holiday, you know, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever, right? So I'm like, you know, I don't celebrate that. She's like, yo, it's not, we're not celebrating that. It's a family day, and, you know, what difference does it make? What's going on? You know, what's the only thing important part is the whole family is gonna be there, or that. So I go over there, right? Uh, I know I think I had the two sons by then, right? And so we walk in, right? And I remember taking his coat off, you know what I'm saying? I think the baby might have been, you know, whatever. I remember taking my oldest son's coat off because he was real active. So as soon as I take his coat off, he's running all around and everything, you know what I'm saying? And I sat down on the couch and somebody said something. I can't even recall what they said, but it's like I didn't even fully relax back. Like the person said that, I got up, put the baby coat back on, and we walked out. And let's say that whole sequence was like a minute and a half. And that was the last time, you know, anything that, you know, I felt was real disrespect happened with my family. See, you know, other people would probably be like, yo, God, that was messed up. You know what I'm saying? You should have had a teachable moment and try to talk to them. Nah, they learn. Ever since after that, whenever I saw them, it was nothing like that happened. So just saying, that's how I deal with that situation. Like, see, look, this is why we learn this stuff, right? Now we don't have that particular story in our lessons, right? But look, you gotta be like Noah. See, it's different when you ain't giving people no warning. It's different when the people ain't laugh at you while you was building the ark, but you out there partying and getting high and dealing with loose women, right? While I'm over here building to make it to the hereafter. Now get the fuck out of here. I'd rather let animals in here before I let you make it to the hereafter. But you know, that's just me. You got, I guess, you know, you gotta have maybe the personality for that. But that's how I draw those kinds of things up. That's how I see it. Those people, look, that was a teachable moment, right? In terms of the Bible for everybody that came after that. And look, they ain't learned. They ain't learned. People still sinning right now. But you know, if you keep you keep allowing these people into the hereafter with you, they're going to keep doing that. Some things is look. Sometimes it's easier if you just go through the pain, go through the hell. Go straight through it. Go to the hottest part of hell, right, and get through it. So you can come out right. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're trying to avoid the hottest part of hell, but yeah, that's the way out, man. And all you're doing is prolonging your time in hell. There's things that you can go around. You don't got to deal with everything like that. There's things you can go around. There's things you can go over. But sometimes you got to go through it. You know what I'm saying? You hate to be forced into that situation, but sometimes that's what it is, man. Sometimes the easiest way out is to go in. But being right, like, look, see, for instance, I give you a good example, because this is how people do. You notice how all the people that was saying Boston was going to come back, you notice ain't none of them talking now, right? See, all the people that got a little excited after Game 5, not one of them said, "Dawg, son, you was right when you said, yeah, that was just a fluke game." you was right. You was right when you said that. You see that kind of thing? That's what happens. That's how it works in real life. But look, this is a teachable moment for y'all. Hopefully y'all learn how to spell New York Knickerbockers now. Champions. Learn how to put that in one sentence. Yeah, see, you still got this guy's in denial. That's listen, I know. You see, I'm used to it. America is based on hating New York. It's American like apple pie. Nobody thinks about New York over on this side. Yeah, right. I'm just saying, I've never like, look, the other big cities, LA, Detroit, Chicago, I've never DC got go-go music, right? I never heard people from other places saying, nah, it's from here. You know what I mean? Or Chicago got house music. I never hear people saying, nah, it's from over here. No other city elicits the like everybody has, you know, you got a lot of black people that don't like other black people, but see, New York is specifically, look, they know about our accents. They every aspect of New York culture, right, is broken down around the rest of the country, right, or how much they don't like it. He said emotion over mental equals relapse. Abu Shahid. I don't really know that much about what Abu. What's that? Abu Shahid. What is what is the context of that statement? See, that's because New York is the basis for a lot of the movies, from romance, end of the world movies, Christmas is. New York is the basis. But see, like it's not of movies. New York is the basis. Period. You see, it's different now, right? It's different now because everything is bigger. But you gotta remember, up until recent times, the vast majority of people that came to New York, that came into America, came through Ellis Island. Right. See, look, Complete just put it. There was other port cities, but none of them was on the level of New York. That's what I'm saying. So even when you go other places, right? The person that they talking about out there, they from New York. Jordan is from Brooklyn. Billy the Kid is from New York. Al Capone, New York. Whatever life you want to go into, whatever you want to talk to, yeah, New York started that. At one time, look, when I was growing up, that was like common, like New York, we originators. A lot of this stuff you see now with the younger generation doing drill music and all of that, that was one of the reasons that we didn't accept, people, that was one of the things people ain't like about New York, is that we really didn't accept nothing that came from no place else. The only two things that people was like, it's okay, is movies that come out of California and music that come out of Detroit. Complete. It's across the board. You said New Jersey and Detroit be trying to claim house. I don't know what's the basis of them saying that. The whole time I've been around, or the whole time I've been hearing about it, they said it was a Chicago thing. I've never heard that about New Jersey. You said Philly, Little Baghdad is New York City's sixth borough. Philly is something different. The sixth borough, you got several locations around New York City that's considered the sixth borough. Like the LES Sometimes they call that the six borough. Uh, it's a couple of other little like isolated districts that they didn't really never had rappers from there and stuff. You know what I'm saying? To really kind of put that neighborhood on the map. Uh, but now Philly is that's another group of people. The police said, I recall a guy from Jersey said he could get to the city faster than me, and I'm in the city. Hey man. So when you leave New York, your blood pressure drops to match the slower paces. That could be it. So techno is from Detroit? Never knew that. You said Miami had bass? To me, the Miami bass is just old school beats. He said out west and down south starts in Jersey. I mean, look, that is something about, at least from my perspective, right? People in Jersey, right? There are people in Jersey, right? Not saying everybody, but there are people in Jersey who they culture, they accents, the way they dress, etc., is closer to, people on the West Coast than it is to people in New York. You know, so to a certain degree, for me, New York is kind of the like a unique city. Like for instance, when you hear the people like in New York, for the most part, we lost the vast majority of the southern ways, the accent, everything. We lost all of that. You know what I'm saying? But when you hear the brothers from Chicago and other places talking, some of them lost it, but a lot of them still got they still sound like they from Alabama. You know, LA, I've detected the same thing. You know what I'm saying? They still, a lot of them still talk like they from Louisiana. I don't know about that, Dartmouth. That's kind of a strong statement there. You said New York should have never let the South get the microphone to rap. I mean, it's you got some fire spitters from down south. I don't know if uh, if that if the problem is letting people from the south rap, in mass. You know what I'm saying? But I think that might be why a lot of times when I'm outside of New York, it's like it's a certain amount of time I could be there. That might be what it is. My blood pressure is too low out there. said plenty of New York cats that shouldn't have gotten the mic. Divine understanding says South always has something to say. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily the region of the country. Um, you know, and this is always a perspective that I think is left out, right? Maybe it would have been better if we never let certain people listen to hip hop. Like, if we never let the people listen to hip hop that wanted to hear all that negativity. He said, besides New York City, what city in the wilderness of North America would you prefer to live in? Yeah, I had to think about that one long and hard. I can't even, prefer to live in. That's a, you're saying like if, I'm, like right now, I can't really say I have a preference to live anywhere. It's other places that I guess would be less bad. It's other places, you know what I'm saying? I guess I could probably go to Miami, somewhere, Florida, South Florida. North Florida seems to be kind of wild these days. Uh, uh, hmm. See those Texas cities? The women out there is too wild. So, I'm definitely not going to Chicago, Detroit, none of that. But in terms of cities, like off the top of my head, that's what I can think of. But you made another statement here though that I disagree with. Let me check this again real quick. See if I can make it come back. You said if we're gonna be all the way on, New York has no sound. It took on the sound of the South and a little bit of the West Coast trap style. I mean, I wouldn't say New York doesn't have a sound. There's definitely a New York sound. It's just it's considered old school now. But that's look, there's just that's something that happened in the 90s. I can't really, I was already a grown man when that stuff started happening. You know what I'm saying? Like even the gang stuff, that was like a point of pride when I was growing up that there wasn't gangs in New York. You know what I'm saying? That was seen as like some old school shit. You know what I'm saying? Like the people who was in gangs in the 60s and the 70s, at least that was still, you still seeing them walking around with gang jackets and hanging in those. They was crackheads and dope fiends. That's one of the things that happened to the gangs, the drugs. So, it just wasn't, that wasn't seen as something that was cool. You know what I'm saying? Nobody was, trying to walk in their footsteps. You know what I'm saying? It was just seen as, uh, something that was played out. But then suddenly I see, you start getting gangs that's from other cities in New York. Like that's crazy to me. But I wouldn't agree that New York doesn't have a sound. I don't know if Latif is taking drugs. But at any rate, that's enough of the social commentary over there. We got any questions? Any questions in the room before we wrap this up? See, I know it would be happening. See, look, in the rest of the week when I'm not on, yeah, I think of all these questions, and then when it comes to the time, right, you can't think of the question. Said how I see today's mathematics. I mean, I don't know. That's not this channel. Said besides Griselda was New York sound. I mean, for you to say besides Griselda was New York sound, let me ask you a question. Is that Griselda sound? Did Griselda introduce that sound? Why are you saying that Griselda is New York sound? Should Rikers Island be closed down? And that's a little bit more relevant right there. Just in terms of, because it affects our community in a lot of ways, right? In terms of, a lot of our brothers and sisters is who's locked up there, but it's also a lot of our brothers and sisters is victims of crimes that people commit that end up on Rikers Island. So, should it be closed down? Now, first of all, look, I like the exile idea. We just talking about it. We saying my understanding. I like the exile idea. You understand what I mean? Because see, when you build a prison house for a person, you got to stay in the prison house too. Like that's got to be a part of your society, right? You got to have guards that stay in there, right? You got to feed them. You got to fix their teeth. All this, look, get the fuck away from us. Go jump in the fucking ocean for all I care. I like the exile idea. Right? Even if for a short period of time, like the time, instead of you doing 3 years locked up in here while I gotta take it, get the fuck out of here for 3 years. We see you in 3 years, and then we reevaluate whether we want to let you be a part of what we do. That being said, that's not the society that we live in. You know what I'm saying? Now, me personally, you know what I'm saying? I'm not under the impression that we living in this utopian society. Whatever you're going to do with them, however you see it, look, there's some people that don't need to be around the rest of us. Like, I'm just saying, like, look, if you got kids, grandkids, whatever, and they just growing up in the world right now, right? They don't need to be around certain people. They don't need certain people to be living in their neighborhood. They need to just be able to grow up and live their life and shit in righteousness and harmony. And some people is not about that. You know what I'm saying? So, that's my perspective on it. You know what I mean? Now, that's coming more from a universal perspective of, having a just society, right? And dealing with justice. Right? Now, what you might be asking me about is the law, which is something different. See what I'm saying? Like, for instance, I give you a good example that I hear a lot of people, they get confused, right? See, the law has statute of limitations. Justice does not. So do you take the 1 in 14 as historical, allegorical, both, or something I haven't thought of? All right, we gotta come back to that one. See, you made me, that was it. You made me, who was I saying that? Oh yeah, we talking about Rikers Island being I say, man, you do well. But so, like I said, you have a lot of people that, to me, they confuse that. See, with the law, things gotta be specific. Like, I had to commit that crime at that time in that place. But see, with justice, it's different. See, like, for instance, right, the other day, I was walking around, I found $6. I didn't work for that $6. I didn't do nothing. I didn't exchange anything for that $6. Because see, when you're dealing with, legal matters, labor, then, I had to work those hours or exchange, whatever goods or services for that $6. So I see a lot of people that shit happens to them and they be like, yo, it's been mad years since I was the most heinous person. you know, I was the most heinous person on this side of the Mississippi for 15 years. But, it's been 20 years since then. Yeah, bro, it don't, you're not gonna get convicted of those crimes. But that don't mean ain't nothing ever gonna happen. You understand what I'm saying? So, saying that to go into, I don't know if that was a part of your question when you talking about, in terms of the conditions and how they treating brothers out there and, the legalities of how they locking people up. That's a different issue. You know what I'm saying? If you asking me about that. But just saying that, there's not, that there's people that's going to break the law, right? There's people that's going to break the law, right? And, like I said, look, I got a granddaughter now. You know what I'm saying? My daughter, whatever, she ride the train, go where she going. These people, before I didn't really look at the world like that. You know what I'm saying? I look at the world and see that's where a lot of that mentality, the people who have that mentality is people who you're not concerned with nothing happening. You ready to for whatever, you know what I'm saying? But then once you got people around you that you like, yeah, these people, they don't want anything to do with that. Anybody in their right mind wouldn't want nothing to do with that. Then you start seeing that, yeah, look, I ain't gonna call the police on you, I ain't call the police on you. Like, I don't be on all that free person and shit that, what I say? Look, I hope it's not true. Like, I hope they didn't do that. I hope, whatever the case may be, right, we find out that it wasn't them and they don't have to pay the penalty for that. But getting all into, that's your business. You know what I'm saying? If you being railroaded and you innocent, that's full stop. Let's just deal with that. You know what I'm saying? But, trying to compare your unrighteousness or whatever, that I ain't getting into that no more. So, I don't know if that answers your question. Now, we had some other questions that came in right behind yours. So here, the father said the best way to master some things is to leave it alone. Can life be mastered by leaving it alone? You mean life itself? Because then that would be a little bit of a strange concept. Yeah, nah. I mean, there's some things, right, that you can only master by leaving it alone, right? Perfect example, crack cocaine, right? The best way, in whatever form and fashion that it is, even standing next to somebody that has it in their pocket, the best way to master it is to leave this person alone. But there's other things that the only way to master it is to deal with it. Do you take the 1 to 14 as historical, allegorical, both, or something I haven't heard of? I mean, I don't think it's something that you haven't heard of, like in general, in all of your endeavors, right? But those is kind of aspects. Those is just kind of aspects of the principles that really is in the whole 120. Uh, is definitely a flow of history in it, right? Because you start from ever since the planet was first founded, right, and you end with MGT and GCC, which is happening on February 20th, 1934, right? So you run it from day one to the present, you know. But like I said, that's an aspect of the principles in there, and I kind of look at it more like this is more how I look at it, right? When you go to show and prove that lesson, right, where you got to do the research, whichever lesson it is. You know what I'm saying? Like some lessons, to do the research, you gotta study physics, right? You have to go into physics in order for you to say, yeah, this is how this answer was arrived at. Some things you would have to go through the history. You know what I'm saying? If you was talking about the conquest of Islam by Muhammad, you know what I'm saying, from 1400, 1500 years ago, and how what that has to do with the born degree in the 1 to 14. You know what I'm saying? There's geography in there. You know what I'm saying? If you deal with the the hillsides, you know what I'm saying? That is so it's really I would that like the way you presenting it is just a concept I never really thought of it in. You know what I'm saying? To me, all of it is science. All of it is stuff that we study. You know what I mean? Like, look, when the scientists have something they experimenting on, right? Let's say they have a hypothesis that this could happen if you mix these chemicals, right? And then if that fails, that's still science. See, because especially if you're looking for something that you don't know what it is, look, at the very least, you've eliminated that. Like we had a million things to try. Now we only got 999,999. So, all of that stuff, to me is the science of life. And the science of life contains all of them things which you saying. You understand what I'm saying? Because see, something could be history and still be expressed in allegorical form. You understand what I'm saying? And something could be allegory and people is expressing it in historic form. So, I would say, with all of it, my perspective more is that, this is the science of life, and life includes everything. Is NGE a form of Islam? This is NGE. So I need a lifeline here. I gotta ask you just for some clarity, right? Can you tell me some other forms of Islam? Like, I need an example of a form of Islam. You know what I mean? Because generally, you got to remember that I have the confirmation bias. You're talking to me, so for me, there's only us. But I understand what you're saying. So that's why I need some clarity there. What do you mean by form of Islam? Is justice a natural law of cause and effect? The law of cause and effect is a part of justice, because sometimes you reap what you sow, and sometimes you have to sow what you reap. Sometimes, even in terms of, the obstacles that, you have to overcome, right? Like the things, let's say like having the reward of a good life, right? That's your justice, right? Now, if you was born to, addicted parents, in a certain circumstance or whatever, right? You're gonna have more that you have to put into that than somebody that was born in a situation where it's like, yeah, their family was already living a good life. You know what I'm saying? So they already had all of their advantages to reach that goal. You see what I'm saying? So, every effect that's manifested on you, right, you wasn't necessarily the cause of. Here's why I asked. The fourth degree in the 114 says 6,019 years ago. The 36th degree in the 140 says 6,020 years ago. But 1 year later, how could the devil... Hold up here, got these things fade out. He said, but 1 year later, how could the devil have caused all this in less than a year and travel that far? I think you're mixing time here. When it says 6,019, the difference between 6,019 and 6,020 isn't the activity of the devil, It's the perspective of how long ago that happened. Like it's not the 1 year, it's the whole 6,020 years is the time that they caused the trouble and moved all the distance. The 1 year is only the time between the conversations between Elijah and Pharaoh. You understand what I'm saying? Meaning that in 6,019, right, the stuff that they was talking about in the 36 degree, right, that already existed. Like you said, in that degree, it says it's 6,020 years. All right, it was 6,019 years, and all of the stuff that happened in the 1 and 14 had already happened in 1933, right? Just like it already happened in 1934. It was just a year between the conversations of them talking about the same people doing the same thing. What is your favorite instrument? The voice, the voice, the voice. And when they sing, you talk like this. Right, so yeah, halftime, yeah, that's, if I'm understanding your question clearly, yeah, it's not the stuff that they talking about didn't happen in a year. The year is the difference in the conversations that they having about those events that took place at that time. You said, is Islam the root of the 5%? Look, I mean, I'm from back in the days, right? I self-Lord and mastered, right? But those is two different questions. I'm saying when you say, see, because look, the root of all things that exist is supreme mathematics, right? But we know God teaches, look, Islam is mathematics and mathematics is Islam. But I mean, specifically, what are you saying? What is a form of Islam? Mr. Greenwood, I mean, you know something? I have, I have heard a couple of young brothers now that it seems like, to some degrees, you said Backshot says 5% ultimately have to return to the Quran and be Muslim? Who's backshot? Is that listen? Yeah, you would. But yeah, who's backshot? Buckshot. So buckshot says that we got to return to the Quran and be Muslim. I mean, look, and shout out to buckshot, right? But see, fame does not infer any qualifications whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, I mean, yeah, I'm not sure what, complete, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah. What do you say? ABGBCB? ABGBCBDB? when Buckshot, when he's speaking to the nation, and we talking about the firstborn, he said about ABGBCBDB, right? So it's one of the things where it's like, why are we, and like not saying that he can't speak on whatever he wants to speak on, right? But just saying why we, what's Buckshot's expertise? What's his expertise that we would, take, strong consideration? Because this is what I'm saying. Look, you could go down to Lenox Avenue, 127th Street, and it's a whole building of people there saying the same thing. That's where the NOI temple is. That's where the temple number 7 is now. There's lots of people saying that, but I mean, what's their, I guess if you asking me why, I for one am not going to do that. I guess that would be a different question, but generally speaking, I mean, if that was the question, then no, we're not a sect of Islam. Now look, does overstand mean the same thing as understand? I've always wondered that. Because it's different. You said, I've always taken the 4th degree in 114 to mean the time it occurred was 6,019 years prior to the lesson being written, and 6,020 means the time since the manufacturing. Nah, it's both of them is both of them is the time since the manufacturing. says so mathematically it was less than a year from manufacturing to expulsion. Uh, yeah, I think wasn't it 6 months when they that they was at the holy city of Mecca. You gotta refer to the Elijah Muhammad, but I'm fairly sure that was 6 months. But somebody check that. See, I'm gonna tell you one thing. You said overstanding is a word used in some cultures, particularly Rastafarianism, to mean profound and complete understanding of something. It can also be used to express a dismissive attitude towards understanding, indicating that someone acts like it's beneath them to understand something. Now, look, that second definition, that's the one I was introduced to. Not by Rastafarians, but by uh, Dr. York. Dr. York and the Ansars was the first people that I heard saying overstanding, and yeah, it was being used in a way to say that uh, you know what they was getting from him was the way that was the way. So that's why I've always had inner standing, outer standing. Look, because see, our lessons say understanding. And so if you got to use overstanding, right? Just a question, right? Is overstanding greater than understanding? So that, whenever people use overstanding, uh, it generally, it's, I guess today they call it like a red flag. It's it kind of, that perks up my attention, you know, and, that is something that I would add on to the part that we was talking about progress, right? And look, I tell you, this is a teachable moment, right? Or should I say a learnable moment, right? Well, I seen that. See, believe it or not, right? As much as I'm being too nice, man. Somebody says on a live stream not too long ago, if I was slipping and getting soft, right? Because I'm older now, right? And at the time, I kind of ignored it. But the other day, I'm building with the guys, right? I'm building with the guys, and this brother, I had seen him at the school, right? We had a large school, and I had seen him, and it was like when I seen him, I could already tell by looking at him that he's off. Like he's not, you know what I'm saying? You're not really, I don't really want to get no conversation with you. And So I kind of, I just passed him by. Like I seen him talking to somebody else, and I, did my best to just move past him without interacting with him. So a couple minutes later, I'm standing outside. I'm building with some brothers, right? And the same guy, he walks up and he says, "Peace," right? So he says, "Peace. I'm real good at violence." So when he first say that, it already like, that kind of, like now let me face totally towards you now. You understand what I'm saying? Whereas, before I look over like this, but now you say that, let me turn. let me turn to see what you about, right? So he keeps talking, and then when there's like a little break in whatever he's saying, I ask him, I say, "Do you know the day Supreme Mathematics?" And he says, "No, I do not." You know what I'm saying? So then, we walk away from him, you know what I'm saying? And then he's like, "Yo, brother's trying to shame me," or whatever, da 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 da. So, eventually he gets the message and he bounces. But just saying, we gotta get back on that stuff, man. Because he just said that he's real good at violence, right? But what if he was really trying to be about being real good at violence? See, all we had to do is ask him the day Supreme Mathematics. See what I'm saying? And if he was really about some bullshit, that's all we had to do to save our fucking life. Like, suppose he came there to do, supreme harm to the school or something. And we let this motherfucker be in our mix, right? And all we had to do was ask him today's mathematics. I'm telling you, G, you might think I'm being paranoid. You might think, you see, that's the 80s talking. That's that 80s talking. Don't see. Y'all might think that's the part. Like, look, we're gonna take everything else he said today and we're gonna leave that alone. That's not the best part. I'm telling you. See, once I seen that, I told the brothers down at the school, like, listen, man, we got to start examining motherfuckers, man. You can see everybody I say that part to, that he said, "Peace, I'm real good at violence." Everybody like, what, And so, see, on every level, you see how easy it was to get rid of the riffraff? All I had to do, right? Peace, boy. You know what I'm saying? All I had to do is ask him, "What's today's Supreme Mathematics?" So see, now look, I can accept that. That was a teachable moment. See where I fucked up right there, right? Or I guess, because nobody's telling me that. Look, it's a learnable moment, right? Where, look, no harm, no foul, right? Nothing happened. Yeah, we gotta like, yeah, guys, yeah. Nothing like that. So yeah, it's something that we could just learn because it wasn't no consequence. You see, some things you don't want it to be the consequences. Like, the consequences might be something you can't recover from. See what I'm saying? Like, if he was on some supreme wrong, right, and he could just come in our mix, be in our mix like that, we might never recover from what he did. I heard a particular brother say something about the name sincere, because there's no sin in the law, or procrastinate because Allah would never con. I think some of these are just extra. I mean, listen, yeah, you know, these is the brothers that we got. It's, I don't know about your biological family, but like that's how it is. You like me, I got people in my biological family that I think is crazy too. Maybe that's what it is that I grew up like that. I'm used to it. All right, so that looks like I came to. That looks like I came to the conclusion here of the questions. Yeah, we had a lot of questions. There were some good questions too. We had a lot of questions today. Unlike usually, y'all must have took my advice and wrote the questions down this time. Because like I always say, y'all probably have all these questions, but then when the live stream start, it's like your car is making a noise and you take it to the mechanic, and then as soon as the mechanic get in the car, you can't hear. The sound is not there. She's like, yeah, all the way over here, man. It was like pow, 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 pow. I can hear it's running smooth. Well, yeah, that's what Darmouth, that's what look. That's what we all are. She's like, I come, I'm on the live stream, right? You know what I'm saying? Or, I've been at the school, I've been out in the, you know what I mean? The music cycle, all the various things I've been, but, I'm a regular 5%. Like, see, for people who, you haven't really been around the guys or whatever, right? You don't really know the 5%. And so, you look at the live stream and you like, yo, but I'm saying, and then, we all guys, you know what I mean? Like, it's other brothers, what I'm saying, right? That could do a live stream, right? Now, personalities and all of that in terms of, how many people is watching and all of that, how long they watch, but in terms of, uh, dropping the science, the knowledge and wisdom and understanding, they could do it just as easily. See, that's what a lot of those, a lot of people in general, but you see that in that music world because see, they treat it like that over there. They're the God. They're the only one with that knowledge that they sing. You know what I'm saying? When out there in the world, these people is high scientists and everybody trying to figure out what they saying, but in the cipher where everybody's God, right? They just regular 5%. You understand what I'm saying? So keep in mind, in July we are having a camping trip called a Weekend of Excellence for as many children as possible in Georgia. Email me at thinkinglive360gmail.com for more info. Yeah, I wish I could. I gotta try to get that in the comments or something. But yeah, I remember we went camping. I think that was still the 80s. Dumar took us somewhere up in the Catskills up there. Yeah, for me, it stood out, you know what I'm saying, because, we from the city, man. You know what I'm saying? So we out there, doing real life hiking, you know, we cooking food on the fire, on the stick and all types of stuff, man. So, that was that was a great experience. Now look, that's one of the things that I'm saying, right? That was something that we was out there. It was a lot of brothers. It was young brothers, older brothers, and there was a bond that we built on that trip. That we've always been, mad close with each other. Everybody who was on there, you know what I'm saying? You know, and that's the type of thing where look, you had to know your lessons, man. You had to be on point. You going with Dumar. Look, both do. Dumar, YD was there. Lord Dumar was there. Born Justice was there. Najee was there. It was a couple other brothers, but you know what I'm saying? You had to be on point to make it to that, you know what I'm saying? This is the rewards now. This is the part right here. You know what I'm saying? That we the guys that's on point and everything. When this trip, became available, they was like, yo, what's the signs, guys? Y'all want to go? And yeah, I personally, if somebody would have been there that ain't know their lessons, we would have been bombing them the whole time. The people that was there, Ekim, Rakim was there. Who else was there with us? There was a couple other young brothers. It was about 4 or 5 of us, we that adolescent, we adolescent. And then it's Earth there, and then it's the small children. You know what I'm saying? The pre-teens, 6, 7, 8, 9s, 10s, you know what I'm saying? Those kids, you know what I'm saying? But I'm saying that if somebody adolescent would have been there that ain't know their lessons, they would have had a long trip. A unique. Besides unique, I don't think I see unique since the last Sean proof. Unique might have to come and do some examination now, man. I don't know what's going on with this construction. When I see Unique, he be asking me what's going on. Like, look, I gotta tell him this time. Look, it's above my pay grade. I don't even know. I hear them what they saying, but I don't know. I don't know about construction. I just know they keep, saying whatever, and then, that's one of the things where it's like, yo, the people with the expertise, man, really need to, a lot of people that just be talking, they you got this idea and that idea, but, it's the whole logistics. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you came up with that plan, but that plan is a $50 million plan. You know what I'm saying? Where it's one of them things where to me it's like, look, and then it is a thing where, look, that dude happens, right? Where a lot of times, see, people not fully qualified. You know what I'm saying? And I don't do construction, I don't know about it, but just from the outside looking in, right? It looked like it's some people that's qualified to work on a construction site, right? And then there's some people that's qualified to do a job You understand what I mean? To direct the job, to do the quality control and all of that on some construction. That's what I see. You said, I saw something on YouTube timelines about King Son response. I mean, look, I don't want to have to KO Supreme. If we got King Mafia and KO Supreme, hey, look, we about to switch up now. This YN status now. YN the Christ in the building. But yeah, unique this year, yeah, they got it. Oh man. Who knows, man? Who knows? Who knows, man? You know. But can't say, I don't know what he responded to. You know what I'm saying? But I am going to check it. You know what I mean? Because I ain't, look, he from the hood, son. He like, nah, bro. You gonna have to go back to claiming New Jersey talking that shit. See, he like to say that. I don't claim out there. I claim the P. Like, nah, well, the P don't claim you. I, I got no idea what he talking about. You know what I'm saying? Tell him, KO, that's why it is. We wasn't even born when you was. What are you talking about? He makes records? King said, never heard of him. That's how the Y is on it. Some stuff was good though. I will say that. Like, see, for instance, them brothers that did the roof, since they fixed it completely, haven't had no problems with that. Right now, it's supposed to be in a decent state of progress, though. It's supposed to be the drawings is supposed to be. They're coming up with the drawings. They're coming up with the drawings now. I guess the overall. Says only one person he builds with it now. Just yeah, well, who the fuck he build with in the P? What was that? Sounds like one more than he builds with in the P. At least out of the people that he named when he rattled all our names off. Sure, you recall when him and Allah broke down on their travel back to go work on school. Yeah, I do recall that. I do recall that, but see, like that stuff that they did, right? You know what I mean? Because he worked on it before. And all of that stuff was solid, but at least from the way I understand it, he probably can explain to you a lot better. Is that see a lot of stuff they did was inside. You know what I'm saying? It was I guess I don't know how I would say it was carpentry. You know what I'm saying? But then it's like the overall structure, right? It's not how we want it to be, and so that causes the stuff that they did to be compromised over time. You know what I'm saying? It won't last as long as it should because it has to be structural things. That was your car that broke down. Oh man, I know they cursed you out all the way back down there. Give us this goddamn limit. So yeah, you got several things like that. You know what I'm saying? Where, we've had brothers do good work, but that's what I'm saying. It never, you know, uh, you don't go back to those people like, the brother who did the electricity, uh, uh, Ramel. But it never was no thing with those brothers that really display that expertise. You said watch that video for a good definition of a Muslim God. So wait, because apparently y'all want me to end this live stream. What y'all want me to do is end this live stream, right? And then check that video, and then get back on here and respond to that's what y'all, and look, we're making progress. Let's But see, here's the thing, man. They don't need to respond to nothing. The only reason you need to respond is if you want to apologize. If you want to apologize for your violations against the law. Like, say if you driving, right? You know how you might be driving and like you might look over to the side right here and the light turn green and the person behind you blow their horn. You don't gotta respond. You're not going where they going. You don't know this person. Drive off and go your way. Like, there's no future between y'all. You don't have to resolve shit so that, like you work at the job with this person. So, you just want to resolve this so you don't have this bad blood where someplace you got to be 8 hours. Understandable. But if you want to be Muslim, guy, there's nothing to explain to us. That's my point. There's nothing for you to explain. Like, if you want to be that, look, that's what freedom is. Freedom means, whatever level you vibrating at, right? And the things that you see vibrating, on a similar level with you, you are free to do that. See, it's when you come in and start trying to interfere with other levels of vibration. See, if you come in with a level of vibration that it may not be the exact same, but it's harmonious. Yeah, I'm ready for TMZ. Yeah, my YouTube channel is so big. I'm almost ready for TMZ right now. But that's the really only thing. It's like, look, why don't you build what you building? You know, that's the real issue with these people. Is that if what you're saying is so right and exact, right? Where on the planet have you shown and proven that? Like, why is the answer you coming to fuck with me? Like, why can't you go outside, right? Why can't you go outside to the streets and teach what you teaching? And those people that hear that and say, yo, you know what? I see me in that and that in me, right? And they can be that with you. Or even if you say to, you know, you got some people that you close with and you building with them, like, yeah, you know, I got these things right here that I've been drawing up, right? And, you know, those people might see what you're saying. And then you be like, okay, let's, let's activate, let's activate on some of this to see how we come out. But no, you have to come, you gotta come, you need to take over the whole nation in order to do your stupid plan. But you said there was a pseudo apology. Who he was talking to? You see, you can't do something to people in America and then go apologize in Russia. What page is on? It's on Infinite's page. Because if it's not on no, established 5% page, right? And shout out to all the brothers, but I'm just saying, like, if you've been out there under some other persona, right? You got a lot of people that, oh yeah, not a person's God, but they out there, they under a different persona. They see in every world, I've always been Darkim Be Allah. So what I'm saying is, right, did you go to some people, right, that, they are enamored with your fame and everything, right? And on top of that, they got a platform that is like, okay, on here, we got a lot of 5%ers from all over the country, right? Where you apologize on here, now a lot of brothers can say, oh yeah, not seeing it myself. Yeah, he apologized, no doubt. But now you go and do it, you know what I'm saying, in some other forum, and then what you trying to explain what the Muslim guys is? See, why you ain't come here so I can smash that? Or look, not smash that, but smash any idea that there's any affiliation between that and this nation. That you acting like you're gonna bring the nation back to the foundation, right? And you rolling with people that none of them was even born when the law was here. But they're gonna come and tell you, they're gonna give you some information on what happened in the first days of the nation, right? And then they got everything what they saying from Muslims. See, if I lived in Seattle before, right? The people in Seattle could tell you about when I lived in Seattle. They can't tell you about when I moved to New York. Could they give you some history, some background, things of that nature about what led up to things? Maybe. See, did you go to somebody who knows that? That this thing y'all doing, right? This Allah team, Muslim God, that's from like 1991, 92. 90 at the earliest. Now, it wasn't 90. That's like 92, 93. See, that's one of the things though. Look, that's good though. Y'all on points. That's what I mean. Make these people have to show and prove. Don't let them off the hook. See, now you want to come back with this apology and all of that. You apologize for it. See, we get to weigh and judge how we see the violation, right? And when, we've satisfied with your equality. You said he apologized to all the regions and named the elders he built with. We don't give a fuck. See, now listen, I gotta go. Because see, you know what? Let's look at it on the big screen. Let's look at it right here. Look, we gonna watch it in real time, y'all. In real time. You know what I'm saying? Because see, look, and I know who you talk to. They can't save you. They can't save you. You talk to the elders. Nah, bro. You left a lot of people out. What channel you said this is on? What's the channel there? But does it what it says? King Son responds? Bro, I asked you a simple question, man. You asked me what I'm gonna do. Don't ask me what I'm gonna do. What channel is it on? King's son responds to comments about him. So yeah, you went back to the bigger picture. You went back to the bigger picture. Woo! 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 With all these damn Zulu beads on. What do you think?
Might be seeing this building the first time. We did a build couple of weeks back on Easter Sunday. And I happened to be by the law school, and so I went to the government.
Shit, on Easter Sunday. Why would you fuck with the Christ? See, I know y'all wasn't thinking about that. Y'all wasn't thinking about that. But you're going to come fuck with the Christ on Easter Sunday. Imagine that.
On the side of the law school, and I made a little manifestation. And in that manifestation, I might have mentioned the Muslim gods, I might have mentioned the brothers who I run with that fall into.
No, it's not might have mentioned. You mentioned the brothers that you run with. Who you talking about? Ah, man. Hey, look, Sean Biggett. Look, my apologies, man. I didn't even get a chance to say that. This is on the bigger picture right here. Right? Sean Biggett. Shout out to the brothers. Right? So it says here, King's son responds to comments about him representing the nation. Right? So look, I'm gonna stop interrupting because see, this is what I mean. This is why I like to look at the whole thing, because see, everything he's saying, now I'm responding to it, and it's going out of the context of the full thing with he. So I like to just get the full context. So that's why we're gonna listen to it. Don't copyright strike me, Sean Bigger, please. Right? This is commentary, right? But I want him to get his idea out, right? So I can respond, in the full context. So let's back up a little bit. We'll start from here.
First time we did a build couple of weeks back on Easter Sunday, and I happened to be by the law school, and so I went to the garden on the side of the law school, and I made a little manifestation, and in that manifestation I might have mentioned the Muslim gods, I might have mentioned the brothers who I run with that fall into the character of a Muslim god body. And, for the most part, a lot of the comments were peace and they understood what I was saying, but then there was a lot of negative build from a part of the nation which is called NGE, the Nation of God's. So what I will do, you, my brother Bigger, which is who used to be one of the fruits of Islam, who used to be one of the security guards at the nation, with respect for you and the bill that we're doing. What I will say, in contrary to the bill that I did, for all the regions out there that are doing things positive, that are doing things in a civilized and a righteous manner, according to Allah's 5% Nation of Islam, I want to pardon myself if you felt disrespected or neglected in my bill, and I want to say peace. And if you out there, you civilized and you teach it, and you live in a righteous way of life, and you building with herbs and you building with seeds, then I want to say peace and keep up the good work. But for all the negative comments, because I quoted, it was the Wisdom Cipher Day. So when I was building on the Wisdom Cipher Day, what I did was I didn't want to go all the way back to what is the meaning of civilization. So I took it from Ezekiel chapter 12, 47, but I happened to say Ezekiel chapter 12, 37. So I got a lot of comments, oh, he don't know his lessons, go back here, go back there, blah, blah. What I want to say, first of all, Allah never called us the nation of gods and earth. Allah said we are a nation of gods and earth, but we are the 5% nation of Islam. You understand? Then I had some negative comments come back, oh, Muslim gods, they are enemies. This particular
Oh, so you talking about me?
is our enemy.
You talking about me?
Is our enemy.
Let's go, King Son. You talking about me?
Don't say we're this. Don't say we're that. So not to get into that bill.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And after I built with my elders, peace to Born Justice, peace to Shaheed Imallah, peace to Wakil, peace to El Shabbat,
Wakil,
Shabazz,
elders,
peace to my brothers that got it or that taught me when I got it.
Shit, Melcorn ain't tell you shit like that.
Seeing the raw egg test. To further demonstrate how Google Maps is our software you want.
Can you believe what he's saying? See, y'all don't know.
You apologize for nothing, God. You stand strong on your square. You do what you got to do.
That's what they told you?
That's going to verse you. If you say you're going to clean up something that's wrong, if you say you and some brothers, whether it's the Moorish temple, whether it's the Christian, whether it's the Baptist, whether it's the Nation of Islam, if we all are, if our main goal is to build in righteousness and civilize original people, anybody that's against that is your enemy. There was one particular brother that all the NGE told me, oh, this God is peace. He's doing great things for the babies. He take the babies here. He's doing this. He's doing that. I did a video. I said, yo, I apologize to the brother because I had mentioned him in that Truth is Squared bill on that Wisdom Cipher Day. I mentioned him like, yo, he's clowning with the nation. But the God was like, yo, God, at the end of the bill, you know, see, this is one thing I want to say to the 5% Nation of Islam, gods and earth. Just because a brother put a flag out there, or just because a brother goes and say, peace, God, or peace, or knowledge, or mercury, or any of that. Oh, they put the 85% up on gods and they bringing this, that, and the third. That's not right and exact, man. If Ronald McDonald was on a McDonald's commercial and said, oh,
yo, bro, what the fuck? Is this about comments about you representing the nation, nigga? Or is this about every fucking body else? Yo, bro. Whoo. Look.
A piece of the gods and earth. So y'all gonna run with that Ronald McDonald represented the 5% nation. That's emphatically now stifled, man. I had brothers saying, I don't know lessons. One particular comment said, I was gay or the rainbow community. To that particular brother, whoever put that comment, and I hope you see this, if you would ever show your face to me, man, I don't normally do this.
Look, says the nigga who's sitting on somebody else's couch instead of coming to the rally or coming to the school. Says that nigga. Says the nigga who goes over there, you didn't accept none of my Zoom links, but now you want to talk about what would have happened if you was face to face with somebody, right? Says that nigga.
I don't know who manifest crimes on TV, but I will break your goddamn jaw. And so any of you NGEs out there that you doubt that I don't know my lessons, that you doubt that I ain't been building for 42 years, whether it's from Patterson, Patmos, same as P-Law.
Ain't no doubt. I know you, nigga. What the fuck is you talking about? Doubt? Yo, can y'all believe this shit? You gonna come back on here and talk like you fucking King Kong? Nigga, you ran to Born Justice in them. You ran to Born Justice in them. You ran to Born Justice to get protected. Now, see, we're gonna have to break this out. We ain't gonna leave this buried in behind 3 hours. We're gonna respond directly. You ran to Born Justice. You ran. Shaheed Imala, he got exiled in, that was like 89, 90, for all of you who don't know. Shaheed Imala had went to Atlanta and became a minister in the NOI. It ain't tell nobody until it got exposed at the rally. See, that's what I'm saying. See, if you know, you know. But you still full of shit.
And now, why you think I don't know minds, man? What is Bond, B-O-N-D, 11th degree? However you see it, 120 or separate Muslim degree, don't ever call me out my name, man. Don't ever call me out my name, because that is a good way to get your jaw broke. And outside of that, if you, how y'all low dumb, how y'all 85% say, oh, you don't want to smoke, you ain't about that life, and all that other slang y'all be running there, I'm God, man. I'm just bound in every aspect of the word. I'm a true and living God. All the slang you could come with, all the guns you could come with, all the bull crap people that you could run with. Two gods you really don't want beef with in this industry. It's just life, scientific, and universal son born, Allah, King Son. So y'all keep all that and keep the negative comments coming, because I will keep ignoring. When you want to build, if any of y'all really wanted to build, you would have called my math and not Dark.
Whoa! Hold up.
Coming, because I will keep ignoring. When you want to build, if any of y'all really wanted to build, you would have called my math and not Darkim. What's the God name? Darkim Be AllahChrist, or call Born Justice, or call any other God.
Now you don't know my name, nigga? Now you don't know my name, nigga? Now you don't know my name, nigga. Nigga. Now you don't know my name? Wasn't I the Darkim that you said you ran with in the P? Now you don't know my name. Now you don't know my name. See, this is the sucker shit. This is the sucker shit. This is what the fuck I mean by sucker shit. Nigga, you could...
When I got knowledge of self back in 81 and 83, we go straight to the root. Don't say you don't want to bear with me. Oh, he running with a Caucasian wisdom. How you know she my wisdom? How you know?
Because you told us that she's your baby G.
How do you know I got babies by? Because I don't. So all that y'all running, wherever you live, unless you came to Mecca with knowledge and wisdom of the God.
I'm in Mecca, baby. I'm in Mecca and I ain't seen you. Is this for real? Is this for real? Is this for real? He said, Darkim, what's his name? Yeah, we listen.
I started when the Father brought it to us. I don't care wherever you live, whatever you doing, whatever. All that backbiting, all that negative comments. Once you put in negative comments, you show and prove you ain't God on earth. Oh, well, I'm on earth and he dissing me. If you knew I wasn't talking to you, why you open your mouth?
You said my name. You said my
That is
name.
my wisdom. It's the God, universal Son born. And if you
No,
fail,
it's the clown king
you wanna
son. What are you talking about?
Respond to me.
Yeah, I'm about to respond right now, y'all.
'Cause I'm a
Unfortunately,
champion
we're
without
gonna
a
have to
cause,
end this
and I
because
accept
I got
all
to get
incomes.
on the horn with him
Your favorite
immediately.
rapper is Rakim. Your favorite rapper is Kane.
See,
Your
what
favorite
is
rapper
Rakim and
Busta
Kane?
Rhymes, Brand Nubians,
Busta
all
Rhymes.
righteous
What does
teachers,
any of these people
Darkim
got to
Be
do
Just Dice. All of them are my
with what you
brothers.
said? Oh, not
But
even
not
brothers.
all of them are worthy. Not all of them have qualified themselves
Oh, they're not worthy
to
to
be a
qualify.
sad person of that ability. But you don't know that because you too busy chasing he sell records. He ain't relevant. I never wanted to be relevant in the music industry. I did a record with poor righteous teachers called The Gods Taking Hands. After I did that record, we were blackballed. I know I'm ill like G-Rap and K. I know I'm ill like Nas and Jay. But you will never know that because the powers that be will never let you bear witness to the wisdom that I speak.
Now we talking about the powers that be. Ooh, hoo, 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 hoo. Hey, listen, man. Look, look. I gotta call him immediately. Cause see, I don't want no steam. I don't want to lose no steam. I'm not gonna do the whole live stream. I may even edit that last part out. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, remember I said yesterday. I said that yesterday. Where sometimes you gotta remind yourself that you're righteous. You gotta remind yourself that look, this is how we are now. But that was powerful, man. That was powerful, man. Hey, look, once again, right? This is a situation where, look, was I right? Was I right or was I right? See, look, I went up there, I told him, I said, listen, man, listen, man, he's not with us, man. If this stuff you say up there, see, you go up there and you try to talk all strong when you was wrong, okay, here we go. Here we go. See, because, see, look, like I said, me and him, we gonna have to talk again. But look, show and proof is coming shortly, right? Show and proof is coming shortly, right? So we gonna see. But look here, man. Shout out to everybody. Let's go back to it. Like we said, we made a lot of progress. We're making a lot of progress. You know what I'm saying? The guys got the summit between the regions going on. We got the camping trip going on down here, you know what I'm saying, where, the young will be able to bond, and deal with supreme equality for the 5%. You know what I'm saying? We got the show and proof coming out, everything hitting switches. You know what I'm saying? We got, new young brothers teaching at the school. We got young brothers, getting in tune with each other from across the country, whether it's on the phone, social media, brothers is building, you know what I'm saying? And so, there's a lot of progress going on, for us to celebrate. You know what I'm saying? The show proof is the week of your physical. That's fantastic. You know what I'm saying? So, we got a lot of things that show and prove that we deal with the best part. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, they continue daily. And so we got to continue daily. You understand what I'm saying? And so you can see that, look, yeah, my name keeps coming up because I've been talking to you for a minute, and that's what I don't understand. Why you talk to all these random people? You know, why was your comments to what? Oh, in the comments, why you want to talk about the comments? Why you want to talk about the comments? See, peace, Queen Shaquasia. What Queen Shaquasia you talking about? But this what I'm saying. Why you mention all the random people? Like, why you got on there and said all that when you could have called my phone and said that? Just the same way you said, yo, why they ain't calling you? Right? Why they ain't calling you? All right, why you ain't calling me? Because clearly, right? Clearly, you some of this is for me. See, the other brother, you said that you see the video and all this. You didn't mention his name. See, these various people, you said you talked to Mel Quan. You ain't talking to no Mel Quan, he tell you that. Queen Shaquasia, I think I know who you're talking about. If you're talking about who I think you're talking about, man. But I gotta see a picture. But yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. Everything you went up there and said, you was just phony again. So look, you know, I guess at some point tomorrow, right? At some point tomorrow, I'm gonna be responding to this. In the meantime, right now, I'm gonna take his advice. I'm gonna take his advice. I'm gonna hit him on the jack and say, what the fuck is the meaning of this shit? You know, why you get on here and talk? And what do you mean? What do you mean? Are you saying? Say, look, you just come say to my face that I'm not a 5%. Come say that to my face. That I'm something different. That the NGE is something different. That anybody that says that gives you the right to start talking about you want to clean things up on the. Come say that to my face. See, this is what happens, G. This is what happens. You see how he called names? See, this is what happens when you let these motherfuckers off the hook. See, this is what happens from the fucking teachable moment right fucking here. This is what the fuck happens. This is now became a fucking teachable moment. But I ain't learning a motherfucking thing because I already knew who the fuck you was. Listen. I'm going to sign off and say peace. I'm going to holler at y'all tomorrow. We probably going to come on before the live stream just to deal with that. But I'll see y'all tomorrow.